for Gator fans tonight. I'm Buddy Martin. This is Meldon Law Monday. It's a difficult time and place we find ourselves in right now, grasping at straws, looking for answers, trying to find out who to blame. Without a doubt, the worst performance we've seen at Florida in a long, long time. And I resist the temptation to blame one set of people. I mean, it was a collective disappointment. Very, very bad in every phase. I didn't say they didn't try. Trying's not good enough at this level. We'll break it down tonight. You can give us some of your thoughts. We've got Franz will join us momentarily. He will tell us about his new book coming out, announcing it tonight officially. It's here. It's able to order it. The editor also will be here, and we'll talk to him. Carlton Reese about how you get these books, also about upcoming dates for signings. Try to get our minds off of something else. I'm sure Franz will talk a little basketball. Then we're going to visit with Dr. Pete Indelicato because we're going to hear a lot more about injuries now that the season is pretty much lost. Yes, the season is lost. I'm sorry to say that to you if you didn't know. I mean, maybe they'll win one more game. I don't know anymore. I'm through guessing. I'm bitterly disappointed, as are you. I thought they were progressing, and now they've been regressing. So this is what this show is about tonight. If you want to commiserate, I don't have any answers for you. I'm a good listener. I'll be here for the next hour. We'll have Franz, Carlton, Reese, P. and Delicato, and we'll check in with our friend Rob Browne up in Memphis, who's just heard Clarke Lea speak. Interesting guy, interesting program, and maybe a way to change the subject, don't you think? So stay tuned and tell your friends and neighbors. The Buddy Martin Show, sponsored by Meldon Law, is now officially on the air.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
I was going to say good evening, but it's not so good. These are tough times for all Gator fans. It's a crazy season everywhere. It's a little more crazy here these days around Gainesville because there's so many twists and turns. And where do we start? I'll give you your chance to pipe in here online and give me your thoughts. I mean, there's some people who say, let's just wipe it clean. Let's just let them all go, including the athletic director. Let's find a new group. I don't know. Some people say the players can stay or players can go. I heard the press conference today by Billy Gonzalez, and he was stupefied. And I'm sure I can understand why, because his team played crappy. They were not ready to play the game. I have a theory about that. Sometimes when you expend yourself, like they did against Georgia, they gave everything they had. They were spent. And I said in my lead, it was a spent football team. And no matter what they did, they weren't going to win that game. But boy, Kentucky came out of nowhere. It looked like the Vince Lombardi Green Bay Packers. I mean, they just played on the quarterback, comes out of nowhere, and they ran the ball down Florida's throat. And they defended Lagway, who was finally relieved and yanked. And that's the word for it. And he needed to be for his own well-being. Sometimes, like if you ever pitch baseball, some days, and Billy used this today, I've pitched baseball. Some days your curveball doesn't break and things just don't work. And when that happens, it's time to pull the plug and put somebody else in there to give a shot. And we've heard guys, remember Wally Pipp? You can get Wally Pipp. Let's go talk to our Wally Pipp. He's our Wally everything. He's Franz Beard, author, raconteur, writer, basketball author, and all that kind of stuff. And I know how he feels. I talked to him earlier today. And so we're going to do some venting tonight. And if you don't want to vent, well, I'm sorry, but this is the time and place to do it. Franz Beard, how you doing? Good evening to you.
Yeah, good evening, Bud Light. Glad that you're with us, and glad to hear also, for those who didn't know, that your wife has rallied and is feeling so much better. She's been in a lot of prayers and will continue to be.
Well, thank you very much. We're very hopeful. I saw her today. She's been in rehab for a long time. I don't want to get into a long story because people got their own problems. You got yours too with your mom. We all have our own crucibles, and now we got one more. If certainly not to compare health with things like, with like football, but football is very important. And I'm talking total collapse, and I'm scratching my head. I've seen this movie before, but it was usually against Georgia or it was against Nebraska or somebody. I didn't see this coming, and I still can't figure it out. And there's a temptation to point fingers, and I don't even know anymore. I don't know where to start. How about you?
Well, I know where to start if you really want to know the truth, and that is you go back to the day that Steve Spurrier resigned, and that started a trend starting with Ron's a good man, but he should have never been Florida's head football coach. And then the second time it happened, you go back to January 2nd, 2011. Urban Meyer had coached his last game, and the next thing you know, Florida's head coach is Will Muschamp. Now, I like Will, and I think Will Muschamp's a very fine football coach. I think that he got the Florida job before he was ready to be a head coach. Now, everybody, I've heard it said dozens of times. Well, he was the head coach in waiting at Texas. Head coach in waiting is a whole lot different than head coach. How many head coaches in waiting have actually succeeded? I can think of one, Jimbo Fisher. That's about it.
And then he failed after he succeeded. So.
Yeah, but he won a national championship.
Yeah, he did. True.
It's hard to argue the fact that he won a national championship, and he had a great run there for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, he did not have any kind of experience. Then they fire Will, and just as I thought Will was starting to figure it out, they fired him. And along comes Jim McElwain, and who I call Old Yeller. When you get paid $4+ million a year, and you can't afford to get your teeth whitened, buddy, I know some people say, "What are you talking about?" During his 3 years as Florida head coach, there was not a week that went by without at least 20 people. I promise you, at least that many. Asking me, well, when is your coach going to get his teeth whitened? I mean, his teeth.
I got bigger things to worry about than that, but I get your point.
Yeah, well, I mean, people.
I'll take Nick Saban, yellow teeth and all.
Well, Nick Saban could get away with it.
That's what I mean.
And then comes Dan Mullen, and I thought, now I'll be honest with you, I thought Dan Mullen was the right hire.
We both did. We both thought he was.
At the right time. And in talking with the Mullins, I believe that Dan got tired of broken promises. He was promised a whole bunch of things that never happened, including the Hebner Center. I think that contributed to a lot of things with Dan, But the biggest thing that hurt Dan was the fact that he didn't pay attention to Todd Grantham's history. Todd Grantham's a guy that comes to that he's good for 2 years, 3 years tops, and then everybody figures him out. He had in 2009, the Gators had the number 8 defense in the country. I think finished 3rd or 4th in scoring defense, led the country or 2nd in sacks, and they were fabulous. And what happened in 2020? 2020, the defense was a no-show for the most part, and Florida won a lot of games in shootouts because they had Kyle Trask having a fantastic year. But then, 2021 comes along and the Grantham effect goes in, and the Gators lose games. He gets fired. And then comes Billy Napier. And Billy Napier was a bad hire, period. There's only one way to put it. He was a bad hire. He was, they called him Sunbelt Billy. Well, guess what? He was Sunbelt Billy. He's, but you look
comparison, Sunbelt Billy would have looked good Saturday night.
Well, yeah, he would have. But buddy, you look at this. What do Ron Zook, Will Muschamp, Jim McElwain, Dan Mullen, and Billy Napier, what do those 5 guys have?
All failed at being coach of Florida.
The Peter principle. They got promoted. And for those who never read it, there's a guy named Lawrence Peter who wrote a book called The Peter Principle that says that most failures at high levels are because people got promoted beyond their level of competence. And Dan Mullen, for example, would have, if he had stayed at Mississippi State, they'd be erecting a statue to him outside Davis Wade Stadium, which you can see from 30 miles out if you're coming in from the east, as we have found out, buddy.
We've been there, yeah.
If you remember. But all these guys, they got promoted beyond their capabilities.
Okay, I'll buy a part of that, and I want to move to a couple of other things because a couple of people are waiting. I don't want to interrupt you. I want you to finish your point. But this is an important part, and that is, did they quit? Billy today, not Billy Napier, Billy Gonzalez said on the plane, he immediately put on the whole offense and the whole defense. He watched it. He then went home and got up the next morning and watched the thing again. He talked to the assistant coaches and said, did you see any signs of people quitting? And they all said emphatically, no, they did not. So they didn't quit, according to their coaches, all right? Not that it matters. It might have been better off if they did quit. The bottom line is this is what you have to worry about, a total collapse. And in this mental state, and I've got a guy hanging on here in a second. I want him to jump in here and enlighten us. And we're going to have also, we're going to talk about your book, which is exciting. It's here, it's printed, it's ready. And we're going to have our guy on talk about it. And then we'll have also Rob Browne. But I want to get to this point real quick because, there's psychosomatic injuries. And when you think you're ill or sick, whatever, we just heard about, was it Trey Wilson? He's going to get ankle surgery and now on a high ankle sprain. I asked Dr. Indelicato about that. He said that's the procedure they're using. But there's apt to be, we had one player opt out over the weekend. Tyke Hawkins said he's done. So the question is, and Billy Gonzalez said he asked them not to splinter off. I can't see how they won't splinter off. I think some will take the surgery maybe they were waiting to have. A few may reevaluate and not finish the season. I don't know. It's not good, though. The question is, did we see anybody quit? I don't know that I see anybody quit. They just got manhandled by an inferior Kentucky team in one of the most embarrassing losses in the history of Florida football. So having said that, I'm going to go ahead. Go ahead.
You know what it reminds me of?
Yeah, Nebraska.
You and I grew up great baseball fans, okay?
Mhm.
And you remember in the 1960 World Series, the Yankees won 3
That's
games,
Rusky.
12-0, 16-3, and 10-0. And yet the Pirates won it. Now,
Home
we
run
also saw like the
by Bill
next year.
Mazeroski. Mhm.
Yep. The next year we saw the Yankees and the Yankees playing, I believe it was the Cincinnati Reds. And the Reds, by the time they got to game 4, it was just a total beatdown. They were just they emotionally spent. They got to the big game and then they ran out of gas.
Yeah, they were definitely out of gas, that's for sure.
And I don't know if this team just maybe the emotions of all these close call wins.
Mm-hmm.
If they didn't quit, then I would say it has to be a case of the emotional despair of all these close call wins, and you go out there in a game you should win, and you just it's like throwing, like you were talking about, throwing your curveball and it doesn't break on when you need it the most. I don't know if that's not the case. If
Well,
they
we'll
didn't quit,
see.
then that's got it. Then maybe that's the answer.
Yeah, I think this is the end of this football team, and the one guy was lucky and couldn't get it because he was out of town. It's Carlton Reese. He said, "Oh, I couldn't get a game." I said, "Don't bother, don't bother." And so we'll say good evening to Carlton. We've got Dr. Indelicato standing by in just a minute, but I want to jump in here real fast because we have some exciting news. We are going to be able to deliver the book that we promised. Such a fine book written by the guy right here in the hat. Well, the guy in the fedora. Franz did a beautiful job. And I'll tell you, do we ever need something to get our mind on football? Hollywood I would recommend The Golden Season, which is now, I'm told, in the hands of this man right below, one of the editors and writers, Carlton Reese. Hello, Carlton.
Hey guys, how you doing? The book is actually going through customs. I think it's printed in Canada, believe it or not. But my book layouts in Gainesville, so it's going to be actually in my hands physically on Thursday. But where people can buy the book, we're still doing the pre-orders at a discount. The book retails for $30. I don't know how much of a sales pitch you want me to give, but I'll talk about it.
I want you to put the email address up there too. We did. I thought we had that, and also Franz is going to have a story sometime about the book.
It's up there.
Yeah, it's if you send an email inquiry to thegoldenseasonbook@gmail.com, you can put your name on the list to get it. It's not being sold in bookstores. You're not going to get it at bookstores, but we're going to have locations throughout Ocala and Gainesville and surrounding areas where you can pick up the book. And Franz is going to be doing some book signings. You're going to want to be in on that. We'll tell you where you can pick them up. But like I said, the book retails for $30, but we're doing any individual pre-orders we can do for $25, and we're also doing bulk discounts for $20. And Black Friday's a day for sales too. I think we might be doing a 2 books
Black
for $30.
Friday special. That would be a good time. But you're in charge of all this. I recommend we do just the first 100 people. BOGO. The book retails for $30.
Right.
So and then plus the shipping. But if you pick it up at one of our locations, you don't have to pay any shipping.
Right. We'll be also announcing dates and locations where Fran's actually going to sign the book. So I think that's where we'll tell people, hey, the best thing to do is to order this book, go to a place like Kuntz Furniture in Ocala is going to do a book signing, and we'll give you the date and the time.
Prestige Auto's going to do one.
Prestige Auto, I think Cogent Bank in downtown Ocala.
Yeah, Cogent Bank.
And
we got
you're
Freddie
more familiar
Weeby
with the Gainesville locations.
Well, we're going to have a major party, a major deal there in January. Freddie Weeby, who I just talked to tonight, by the way, it's just his office there, not in the restaurant. He'll have the books, and we'll be up or at least you guys will. I hope I'll get there for the Tennessee game at the Celebration Point, and Franz is going to have his hands cranking, man. And we'll be doing signing books there. and then before the FSU came sometime as well. So I got to tell you, folks, this is an extraordinarily good book. It's something you really want to have because in addition to Franz reporting, right, he went with the team everywhere. You've got these beautiful pictures by Chris Spears. I think, what are they, 40 of them? How many are there, Carlton?
I don't know, but it's a 16-page insert in the book that's a color, sort of a photographic review of the season, and then there's black and white chapter cover photos on each of them. It's really well put together, and then Franz did an unbelievable job. And there's no better time than now to want to relive that season, and that's what the book does. It just takes you back to every moment in what was one of the greatest seasons in Gator history of any sport that I remember, and I want to relive it now. I don't want to think about football, especially after what happened Saturday night.
We're a basketball school, Carlton. Don't forget that.
We really are. 3 national championships in what is it, 19 years or something like that?
Yeah, it is. You know, I wrote about that tonight. I've got I have a story that's up about it, and you know, the years kind of numbed us. And I remember sitting there in Atlanta watching, you know, the 04s are on this podium and they're all sitting there and they're swaying back and forth. And I'm looking at Corey Brewer. There's playing one shining moment. This tear just streaks down his eye. And I wondered that night, was this a tear of joy because they just won another national championship? Or was this a tear because he knew at that moment that he'd never play on the same team again with Al Horford, Corey Brewer, Al Horford, Joe Kim Noah, Torian Green, the guys that he came in with as freshmen, and of course Lee Humphrey, who was the non-04 of the bunch, but the baby face 3-point assassin on that team.
Can I jump in here real fast with questions about the book people have with them? I hate to interrupt you. Panhandle Rob says, looking forward to getting my copy. I understand there's something in the offing for you in the Panhandle. Let's see. So I want to know how far south you'd be going. I think you have to understand we're not doing these books in a traditional way, going to bookstores. We publish this book ourselves. When you go to the bookstore or you go to Amazon, they wipe out everything. You don't make $2 on your book. So we went ahead and bit the bullet and paid for the printing. Carl did a great job on these are hardbacks, by the way. These are not paperbacks. So now as a result, we'll be doing some signings that are not traditional signings. Someone says, okay, here's the deal. If you buy the book, we'll tell you where you can pick it up, and you can go to Gainesville. There's several locations, several in Ocala. That's all we have right now. But Carlton, this is a lot of information at one time. I should also tell them, and I'm going to bring Dr. Indelicato on here too. I should also tell them that they can pre-order this book, and you can designate one of those spots to pick it up. You save the shipping. The shipping costs $4 or $5, right, Carlton? And if you want to
we'll know
buy,
for sure once the book comes in. It could be.
And also, just around, I don't know that much about it. You do because you were the guy, you're the master puppeteer on this thing. But I want to get this. This is a fine piece of work by Franz. And I want to stress to you folks that you need to have this book on your shelf if you're a Gator fan, if we're in perpetuity. And of course, also Chris Spears' great photography. So this is something you'll want to keep, and you want Christmas presents. I think Carlton told me he's doing some kind of sweet deal in pre-ordering. Also, what's your special? You give if you want to.
Well, buddy, I want to add something. You've got people outside of Central Florida that want this book, but I've reached out to the presidents of almost every Gator club via email, every Gator club in the state of Florida and Savannah, to just say, look, a bulk order by your club will do it for $20 a book, and you can either pass that savings on to your members or use that as a way to raise
money on the book.
It's money for your book. and we'll
Right.
get the book. You do a minimum order of 20 for your club. We'll get the book to you so that no one from Fort Lauderdale needs to drive all the way to Ocala to get it. So I would
But
say
on the
anyone listening
the
here
Carlton
needs to tell
Express.
us. Yeah,
It'll go on the Carlton Express, right?
right. Anyone outside of that area who wants the book would be advised to get a hold of their local Gator Club president and say, hey, look, we need this book. Let's do this. Then
people are asking where they can find the link. They're a little bit confused about that. It is confusing. Stay with us. We'll find it. We don't have a link per se.
no,
right?
just send an email, an inquiry saying you're interested in the book. That's all you got to do, and then we'll contact you.
We'll put up the link, right?
Yeah, it's the Golden Season Book at gmail.com.
Yeah, I can't.
Just shoot an email. That's all you got to do.
The Golden Season. All right, great. All right, real quick now, I'm gonna remind folks this program is brought to you by Meldon Law. They, of course, are a very fine law firm there in Ocala, Gainesville, and now it's just outside of Fort Lauderdale. They now expanded to 50 attorneys. They have 4 locations, now 5 locations to serve you. If you heard me talk about Jeffrey and what a great job he does, he handled my lawsuit. He, of course, is a great Gator, and he's also an excellent attorney. And I suggest if you have any legal matters to discuss, even a reference, if he doesn't have the expert you need, he'll find him. Jeffrey Meldon and Meldon Law, they won't back down. Okay, now let's talk about any final notes, Carlton. Can you stay around for a minute? Or
Sure, yeah, I'd be interested in talking about that game Saturday night.
We'll do that too.
And
I got to get this guy on here too and let him visit with us, talk to us about injuries, because we had one, a major one, to a wide receiver. And I saw today, I heard hold on. I heard Coach Gonzalez say that he had a high ankle sprain and he was gone and he's going to have surgery. And I thought, I don't know, is it common to have, a high ankle sprain? And so I thought, well, I'll ask the expert who would know that. That would be Dr. P. Indelicato, the well-known physician, former team doctor at Florida, civil advisor. He's everywhere. He's important. He's a big guy. Good evening to you, Pete.
Hey, good evening, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Do you have anything for stripes? When you get your back striped, we get whipped. Do you have anything for that? Any kind of balm we can put on?
No.
No.
Well, these are my pajamas.
No. I don't mean your clothes. I'm talking about something for the beating we took on Saturday night.
Oh,
something balm.
Wow.
I like your pajamas. Anyway, so tell me, and I know you only got a minute. You can chip in with the other subjects, but in the mental state of this team is not good. And when that happens, how much does that affect you physically? Because there are those injuries that get worse with your mental approach. Yeah. So talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point, buddy. I mean, there is a lot of data to show that when you are emotionally not healthy, you're more prone to become injured. That's hard science right there. So the details as to why that is so has yet to be defined, but there's no doubt when they do a lot of data surveying that if you're in an emotionally unhealthy spot, you're more likely to sustain an injury in a sport, particularly like football.
Yeah. I know you were disappointed like the rest of all Gators on Saturday night. Something this program has built up so skillfully under Spurrier and Irvin to a point where now it just felt like a total collapse. Right, guys?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Pete.
I mean, you hope that doesn't happen. Obviously, the next 2 games are going to be critically important in terms of how the season ends up. I'm looking forward to those two games. I'm actually going to be at Oxford Saturday. I'm really looking forward to the Florida State game. I mean, with an in-state rival like that, you've got, if you have a pulse, you've got to be able to get up for that game, no matter what the record is.
You know what I heard though? They moved the time into their network. They moved it to 9:30 to the Comedy Channel.
I saw that.
No, I didn't. That's not an original joke with me. All right, so
That was pretty good myself.
Well, I did too. That's why I stole it. So guys, let's all kind of huddle around here. We're going to be joined by Rob Browne in a minute. Talk about. Some people say, I mean, I don't want to get into a finger pointing because you can blame the coaches, you can blame the players, you can blame the athletic department. There's some people, and I'm looking at one of them and saying, maybe it's time just to wipe it clean and start over. I get all that. Whatever you want to think, it's fine. You should be. You're brokenhearted. As I said in my article, it's reminiscent of getting butt whippings from Georgia or Nebraska. And that's painful to watch. But having said that now, without diving into it, let me get from you. I'll start with you, Carlton. We'll go around the horn. Where do we go from here, Carlton?
Well, I mean, we already made that bed when we fired Billy Napier. That to me was wiping the slate clean. I mean, we are starting over. That's what this is all about. And this is what you get when you fire a coach midway. You're rolling the dice. That you basically told everyone the season's over once you do that. Now, the fact that the players weren't playing at the high enough gear, I don't think they quit, but I just don't think they were playing at a high enough gear at Kentucky. That's what's going to happen in the SEC to anybody. The worst team's going to take care of you. So going from here, find something deep inside to motivate you to play. Ole Miss, Tennessee, honestly, right now, I don't care about that. But like Dr. Indelicato said, FSU matters. You better find a pulse, and you better get it going and win that game and salvage something from here on out.
You thought they were going to beat Georgia. You called up for the season, and they damn near did. Franz, I think you'd like to have a little, before tell me off the show, you'd like a little stronger move than that, right? Because look, the season was over, but it didn't look like it was going to be this bad, Franz. This is horrible.
No, it is, and I think that, as I mentioned earlier, I think when you have so many close calls, and maybe Dr. Pete, being an MD and having been around teams as closely as he has, can affirm this. But I think when you've had one close call after another, one game after another, in which you know that the game was right there for you to take it, and you lost it. And this is not just a one-year deal. This is the story of the Billy Napier era. 14, 15 ball games that they were either a field goal or a touchdown away, either with the lead or from tying or taking the lead, and they lost the game. And I just think that you can get to a point where you've had all of these terrible losses, and you get to a game where you ought to win, and then it's like you said earlier, buddy. You go out there on the mound and you discover you left your curveball back in Gainesville.
I heard John Schmaltz say something in the World Series, and Carlton, being an old baseball guy, he says sometimes the ball just doesn't fit in your hands. There's like Danny Werfel was benched. He couldn't throw a wet ball. Remember that? The great ones get benched. I don't think it's just the end for DJ, for Lagway. I think he's still got some ball left. And if I don't know, somebody said earlier, well, he won't quit because he won't get his NIL deal, maybe. Or maybe he's going to stay. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not going to turn on the kid at this point in time because even though he had a bad game, he's given his best. And physically, I don't know, Dr. B, I'm not going to ask you for a medical analysis because it wouldn't be fair. But we know that DJ is not right. There are two schools of thought on that, and then I'll get Franz, I'll get your opinion on the other. Is that if there's surgeries to be had, Now will be a good time to have, wouldn't it?
You talking about DJ?
I mean, players, but DJ included.
Yeah. Well, I think it's still an individual by case basis. A lot of variables enter into when it's best to have the surgery. It's hard to answer that globally like that. But getting back to what you were saying about this particular team, I think we got to stop feeling sorry for ourselves. I mean, you gotta have some self-pride. You got look in the mirror and say, how did I play today? How did I practice today? I think self-pride is something that hasn't been talked enough about, just in general with athletics these days.
Okay, I don't know, Franz or Carlton.
I agree with that, and I think that, and I'll ask you guys. I'll ask all four of you. In fact, I mean all three of you. In fact, there's four of us, but I think the money has had an impact on these guys as well, in that they're getting paid, and all of a sudden, we've seen it happen too many times in pro sports. Dr. Pete, you were with the Dolphins, and I've seen this in pro sports. It's guys like who get out there and say, "Well, the team may screw up, but I got mine," and you hate to think that college kids would get that, but you got to wonder if that has entered into it with all this NIL money. Some of these guys are getting more money than a lot of people will make in a lifetime.
But that's not going to change. That's the new reality. That's what it is.
Yeah,
that's why they're playing game.
But it changes kids.
But it's not. But what are you going to do about it? Nothing. You can't. It's here. You have to manage your money smarter, be better. It's here. It's like, giving away food free and the one day charging for it. I mean, you got it. It's unfortunate, but this is the world we're in. And the smart coaches like Lane Kiffin, we got to speak on that, by the way. People are asking us three things here. Lane Kiffin, also keep asking again, can you please explain where to get the book again? We're going to have to go over this over and over and over. We'll get it written too. But let's start with the book again, Carlton, because people want to know, where do I get it? What's the link? How do I get it? I want, etc. So go ahead.
If you're watching this program, you have a TV and certainly have a Gmail or have an email. Just send an email to thegoldenseasonbook@gmail.com and say, I want this book. We will reply to you and we'll get your information. We'll let you know where you can go pick it up, on what day. Okay. If you want it signed by Franz, how much it's going to cost. If you need it shipped to you, we'll take care of all that. I've already gotten email inquiries from people who are in St. Augustine or even out of state that want the book and they want it signed by Franz. I'll take care of it for them. We'll get Franz.
We promise we'll do a better job, folks. We've had a lot going on, and it's just it's unfortunate, but
we're just trying to avoid the bookstores, and
we have to. So, we go be broke in a week if we went to the bookstores.
The distribution methodology is going to be a little more laborious than what you said, but that'll be our labor. Anyone who wants the book, just send an email, say I want it, and we'll get it to you.
All right, a guy told me tonight who's probably one of the deepest insiders I know, said to me, and it's not Spurrier, by the way, said to me, I thought for a while it was not going to happen. But after being around everybody this past weekend, I now think Lane Kiffin's going to be the coach. Again, we don't know, but that's our best option right now, isn't it, Carlton? I hate to say he's the savior, but he's the savior.
I've never been personally a Lane Kiffin guy. I will say this, that I think he's matured a lot as a coach since I started not liking him. So I can stomach a little more, but I want them to get Lane Kiffin for one reason only, and that's so that the University of Florida is not embarrassed by losing out on him. I mean, it seems like they've thrown everything in the kitchen sink at him, and they've been the program that's the number one on the list. Florida's going after him, and if they don't get Kiffin, this is just going to be an embarrassment for the program. That's why I want them to hire Lane Kiffin as much as anything.
Yeah, Franz.
I think it's got to be Lane Kiffin. They've got to have a home run hire, and short of Nick Saban or Urban Meyer or Steve Spurrier coming out of retirement to coach the Gators, there's one home run out there and to be had, and that is Lane Kiffin. You got to have a home run hire at this point in time. And I never thought I'd get to a point where I thought that the Florida Gators were in a position where they had to have a home run hire, but this time we have to.
Dr. Pete.
Well, I don't care who it is as long as they take good care of the athletes. I've worked with I don't know 10, 11 different football coaches over my tenure here, and I've been very fortunate working with guys that really respected what our job is, and whoever the next coach is. As a doctor, I hope it's somebody like that. As a fan, I hope it's Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, well put. I'm going to ask you to just tell the story real quick, and we're going to have to let you go because we got guys stacked up waiting to get on. But thanks for being on the program. I love this story. Of all the stories you told me, a lot of stuff, nothing private or secret, but the stories you told me about Spurrier, and then the stories you told me about. Let's see, who was the coach when you had to do quarterback cert? What was the story about the birds flying? That was Spurrier, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But you also had Charlie Pell, I believe. Didn't you have him in the story smoking a cigarette, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell either one of those or both of them?
Well, Charlie Pell, in fact, he helped me become or learn how to be a team physician. He was tough, but he was very honest and very straight. And he may not have liked what you said to him, but he respected you telling him the truth. And that was one of my, actually Doug Dickey was the first coach I worked with, but Charlie Pell taught me how to be a team physician. And I have all the respect in the world for him. Coach Spurrier, I love the guy. I mean, he was a joy to work with. Always wanted to hear just the bottom line about what I thought about somebody's injury and so forth. And never got flustered. Never got overreacted to an injury. Very somewhat different than Coach Pell. They've all been
but
different.
the story you told me was about the injury.
Oh, with Danny Warfel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And Spurrier looked up at the sky and the birds and said,
Came out. Danny hurt his knee, tore his ACL. So afterwards, coach wanted to know what the injury was, and it was at practice. So he called me over to at a timeout in practice and said, "What's going on with Danny?" I said he tore his ACL, but we should be able to get him back next season, and he's in good spirits. And he didn't say anything. He just looked up. There was a flock of birds flying over the practice field. And I was waiting for him to ask me a bunch of questions. The only question he asked me was, after he looked up the flock of birds, he says, "Doc, what do you think those birds are heading for?"
I love that story.
Completely.
I love that story.
That is so Coach Spurrier.
Yeah, it is Coach Spurrier. Hey, Pete, great to have you on. We'll have you back again if you come on. Appreciate you very much. All right?
All right.
Take care, my friend. Dr. Pete Indelicato doing it there. Good to have Dr. Pete on. We're going to switch over to another subject, and we're going to get our friends. Let's see if I can get him on here. Hold on a second. He'll be on in a minute. Rob Browne will join us. He saw Clarke Lea speak tonight. He was in Memphis and saw him speak. Clarke Lea is an amazing story. I'm working on a piece right now, which I hope to write about this week. When you start the season with all your all-stars at quarterback and all your great coaches, Most of those guys are gone. They're gone. And we got a whole new cast of characters here. I mean, Kirk Cignetti, give me a break. I mean, he's a good coach. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, the quarterback, Texas A&M being as powerful as they are, it's a different cast than we expected. And we got quarterbacks that we had never heard of. Look at all the Heisman candidates that we had listed, including Arch Manning, including DJ Lagway, including on, guys that were supposed to be world-class into contention. Carlton, if you had if you had a vote, our friends, on your Heisman, you voted in September, whose names would have been on there?
I'll defer to Franz.
Well, you would have seen DJ Lagway on there. You would have seen Arch Manning on there, Garrett Nussmeier on there, and Carson Beck. Those were the four guys that were really at the top of the list. And
where are they now?
Well, Nussmeier's season is in the tank. Arch Manning can still salvage his. DJ's season is really bad, and Carson Beck is having an okay year. But I think that the only way people will deem his year a success is if he takes Miami to a national championship. And first off, he's got to get Miami's got to get in the playoff, and I don't know that they're going to do that.
All right, so.
And Diego Pavia is my guy.
He's my guy too, and I'm going to vote him on my. He's going to be someplace on my candidate.
I think Fernando's going to win it, though.
Well, he might. There's a guy I've already seen. Have you guys seen him?
Yeah,
a little bit.
What a comeback he had against Penn State! Wow.
Yeah. And he is a Miami guy. He's from a high school in Miami, who didn't get an offer at Florida and goes to California of all places, and then transfers into Indiana. 6'6" kids who could throw a football like that, I don't see how he didn't get an offer from Florida.
I hear Shane talk about how there's a million quarterbacks out there. You guys buy that?
Million?
Well,
not literally.
There may be a million quarterbacks out there, but I watched an NFL game yesterday, and I saw a couple quarterbacks like Matthew Stafford, and I saw him throw 40 yards on the line. You could have hung the laundry on it. It was and my gosh, there may be a lot of guys who are pretty good quarterbacks, but when it comes to elite and comes to winning a Heisman Trophy, I don't think there's that many of them that have that kind of ability to win games when games are unwinnable. And Fernando showed something there, and so is Pavia. I think those two guys, head and shoulders, are the two guys who have proven. Although, got to admit, that was the first time Fernando's had a tough ball game. I mean, they've been blowing people out, and Diego Pavia has just been, for lack of a better term, he's been pulling them out of his rectum.
Well, that was one of those games that you talk about, kind of like in college basketball. You want early in the season, you want to see those tough grinds to test your team, and that serves you well later in the year. That was probably that way for Indiana. I mean, they needed a game like that, honestly, to get them toughened up for a playoff run, I think.
They're Kurt Cignetti. I mean, my gosh, he was Nick Saban's wide receivers coach when the offensive coordinator was a guy named Jim McElwain.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that?
The QB whisperer.
Yeah. Let's talk for a second about Lane Kiffin. That's the topic du jour. Everybody wants to know about it. Give me 2 minutes each on if he is going. The guy told me tonight. He says, I don't believe he's going to come. I don't know. What do you guys think? Franz, you start.
I think Lane Kiffin's going to be the head football coach at the University of Florida. the more I've thought about it, the more I've looked into it, the more I believe that that's the case. I think Lane understands he could stay at Ole Miss the rest of his life. They'd probably put a statue up there for him. And maybe, just maybe, he would win a national championship if stars and planets aligned. But he'd never, ever have the players he could get at Florida. And the second thing you got to wonder is this. At Ole Miss, you're going to have to live and die in the portal. And so far, he has been extraordinary at massive wholesale use of the portal. And what happens when there's a down year in the portal? What happens to Ole Miss football if all of a sudden there's a year when there just aren't that many really good players in the portal and so forth like that? He can come to Florida and he can be very picky in the portal, and he can also get a lot of 4 and 5-star players that would never think twice about going to Ole Miss. I think he comes to Florida.
A lot of money. And now everybody wants him. And I do believe it's Jimmy Sexton's obligation, he thinks, to get him about 10 offers, the most money ever. But if Lane is true to what he says he is, and he says money is not going to be the deciding factor, and he says Jimmy hates it when I say that, maybe that will happen. I don't know. What do you think, Carlton?
Well, I think my money is – I think it's about 50-50. I'm not as confident as Franz that he's coming to Florida, but I think it makes sense for him to come to Florida, money or no money. But for all those reasons, LSU is just as attractive as University of Florida, maybe even more attractive. He doesn't have to compete against FSU and Miami and Georgia basically in his backyard every year for this in-state talent. At LSU, you own that state, and there's a lot of talent.
Well, you got the Saints there too, though. So
yeah. So, but I'm not convinced that he's the savior, that he's going to be the guy that gets it done at Florida. I would say he's probably the best hire out there. I don't know who you get, but this whole thing, knowing Lane Kiffin, I wonder how much of it is playing leverage. This whole game is about leverage for his benefit, and I'm not going to be a believer in it until I actually see him having that press conference at the Swamp.
I've had two people who have basically told me, and they're people who I respect and I believe have good insight into this, that there's going to be Lane Kiffin will be one of two things. He will either remain as the football coach at the University of Mississippi, or else he'll be the football coach at the University of Florida. That there is no chance that he's going to go to LSU. And I've heard that from people who I respect and believe in. And,
the LSU talk has quieted down, I will say that.
Yeah. LSU fired a coach with a winning record. We
fired Mullen.
Well, yeah, but Mullen was having a losing season. This is a guy that was having a winning season, and who knows, may have beaten. You look at how they played against Alabama, may have beaten Alabama if he'd been the head coach there. There's just so many things you don't know. But I'll say this: that Florida gives him the brand name that he likes. He's still got beach house down there in Boca. It still has a condo in the family condo over at St. Pete Beach from when his dad was there. I think there's a lot of emotional tie to Florida that is an underlying factor in here that there isn't at Ole Miss. And his mom. His mother-in-law lives in Gainesville, Patty Reeves. John Reeves is a Florida legend.
Great player.
And a great player who, my goodness, who could throw who could throw a 70-yard pass as well as anybody I've ever seen in my
Probably
life.
the best ball anybody ever threw at Florida was John Reese.
Yeah. And then Layla, went to school right here and so forth. I think there are factors that draw him to Florida that are going to that not we don't necessarily see them on the surface. He's very close with his mother-in-law. And I think that I think it would also be a chance for him with the situation at Florida that he could give analyst jobs to his brothers-in-law.
Well, you can do that now.
Yeah, but
He already got his brother on staff, doesn't he?
Well, his brother, yeah, but I'm talking about the Reeves boys, Stephen and so forth like that.
Okay.
I just think there's a lot of things that factor into Florida making the most sense.
Yeah. Okay, here's the deal. We got about a minute each. I'm going to say to you, if not Lane Kiffin, who then? I'm going to throw a name out here, which I never believe I would be saying, but Clarke Lea.
Oh.
We'll see how good a coach Clarke Lea is when Diego Pavia leaves. I like that guy down
that's
at
true
USF,
of
Alex
That's
Golesh.
true of
I
any
like him.
coach, though. I mean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We saw how good what you call it was at Auburn when Cam Newton left.
Yeah.
Suddenly he wasn't such a good football coach anymore. I agree with what you say there, but then again, I look at the way they're recruiting now at Vanderbilt and so forth. But here's the deal: he grew up in Nashville. I think I think there's an emotional tie to Vanderbilt that will keep him there a long time.
Good point.
And the fact he's one of them may be the one thing that can get these big money people, and there are tons of them at Vanderbilt.
A lot of money, Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
By the way, we got to run here. I'm sorry, but didn't he come from UCLA or someplace? I forget.
No, he was at Notre Dame. He was the defensive coordinator.
Okay, I just think maybe he might have been UCLA. Anyway, I'll look him up.
Before that, get this: he was at Wake Forest, where he worked under a guy named Mike Elko.
Right. Or you also got a high school coach out of Texas A&M who's doing pretty good. He's a high school coach. There you go. All right, guys, good job. Don't forget the book. Go have more about it. Carlton, Franz is going to write a story at some point about the book.
It's up.
Well, it's on there now on the site.
Yeah, it's up. Okay. It's up there on the site, and
tweet it out too.
And I also need to mention the fact that I'm going to be at all but 2 Florida basketball games.
Yeah.
Won't be Thanksgiving weekend. It's my mom's 97th birthday weekend. I won't be out there on the West Coast, but I'm going to do a follow-up book on the Florida basketball team this year.
Great. I got to go. Thanks, guys. Great job. Thank you. Sorry about our guy, Rob Browne, got caught up in the traffic and on his phone. He couldn't get to us, so we'll get him next time around. Thanks, guys. Great job.
Good night, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Franz Beard and Carlton Reese, who are our key guys. Let me just tell you about our sponsors. We go out. That would be our good friends at Titan MRI and Imaging. We've talked about them a lot. It's a great deal if you're in need of a CAT scan or a MRI. This is a place you can go for lots of reasons. A, you can get an appointment at the time you need it, whether it's night or whatever. B, they have now have to take your insurance now, or they have their own pay program if you want to go through them. C, they have these larger oversized machines, which to me is one of the biggest reasons I like them. If you've ever had an MRI, you get a little squeaky in there, that small tube, and you really don't like the closer you get claustrophobic. And they've spoken to this because everything they do at Titan MRI and Imaging is about you, the customer, you being comfortable, you liking the situation, you not be able to. Most people want you to come and do what they want you to do when they want to do it. Well, guess what? These folks say you don't have to do that. And I just want to tell you, if you need to check them out, there are several locations in Serbia, and soon coming to more information coming to you about that. So tight number on imaging, it's your choice. You should make it. So have a good night, folks. Thanks to our guest tonight for all their support. Thanks to you. Carlton tells me he's already got a bunch of book orders. That's a good deal. We'll tell you more and more about it. We'll do a better job of telling you about it, and you'll be able to get your copy. You're going to want to have this. And by the way, we only printed X number of books. So I know it's not a come on, it's the truth. Anyway, we'll give you more information. Check the website. Go to Gator Bait Media. Subscribe to Gator Bait Media. Have a good night, folks.